console here. Just finished doing quite a bit of work to it, getting it tuned, going through the issues. How did I do it? How did I get this car to run like this? In today's video, we got a lot of action. We're gonna dive in and go through absolutely everything that I've done to this car to make it work, and the struggles that we have today in a 30-degree day. It's very, very hot today. Honestly, the car did very well. Let's dive in. Thanks for watching my videos. I really appreciate the support and the positive energy towards my channel. I hope to bring more good stuff, more good content to come. This is the staple of the channel right here. This is Delcat. This is what taught me everything I know about cars today. Let's dive in and see what we got. Gotta say, it's pretty dusty. It's been sitting, got a lot of big trees here. I'm just gonna back this car down into the flatter area. Where do we start? We're gonna need one of those. I relocated the battery to the trunk, and I've ran quite a few different batteries. You know, I finally bit the bullet and I got this brick of a battery. It's pretty heavy, you know. Talking weight reduction, this is not a weight reduction battery. This is a voltage battery. It's out of 2014 MDX, way bigger than the little Honda Civic battery that it comes with. I'm running a methanol injection pump as well as a 3.5 gallon per minute water pump for my water to air intercooler system, and it draws significant amounts of amperage. So I'm gonna upgrade the battery this time around and see if that makes things better. I also have a Rockford Fosgate 100 amp resettable circuit breaker there, so I can just quickly come in, disconnect the battery on a switch, get this battery hooked up. I went to the parts store. Apparently these are military grade battery terminals. I don't believe them. Does this look like it'd be in the military? I don't know. Leave a comment with your thoughts and opinions. I'm gonna have to move this thing forward a bit. Get a cold start of that. It's really loud. Oh, gotta turn the battery on. See if it starts. Alright, that was interesting. But it started. Now we're gonna dive into the first issue. Can you hear that? Yeah, that's right. Belt slip. These belts have been slipping. I went to the burnout show. Everyone had tools. I made it work. I didn't get belt slip there in the burnout pit. You guys saw that video. That video is doing really well. Thank you guys for your support on that one. We're gonna check this belt down here on the crank pulley and see what the tension's looking like there. If you're building a car, highly recommend getting a good chair, because you do a lot more sitting than you do driving. This car has been a prime example of that. Let's start with probably the biggest issue I've been having. Belt drive. Alright, belt length. The overdrive pulley I have on this Supercharger, it's the 1320 3-inch pulley with the 1320 billet idler pulleys on all of the drive. They work really well. I have no complaints about that. But when you put that 3-inch pulley on, it really narrows down the number of belts available on the market. I had to order this belt. It's a 580 millimeter belt from the UK, and that's the only place I could get it. It's pretty brutal. It's really hard to tell where the belt slip comes from, whether it's the Supercharger or the crank pulley. it's really hard to tell. I have an Amarid belt on the crank pulley to help with stretch and strain, but I've only been able to get a polyester belt for the Supercharger drive. So that's what I'm running, but it seems to work, and you need to tighten them after, you know, every hard drive. It's a pain in the butt. This drive system needs to be cog drive, like a timing belt. It's got to be converted to that. For what I'm doing, it's just really not working out. It's very hard to make it work, and the belts have to be extremely tight. I'd say that's the number one issue, but when it works well. The next issue I had was getting my water to air intercooler system to work properly. I had a 1 7/8 tube and fin running through it, and I have -10 AN fittings on the back side of each water tank, and I got this manifold custom built by Gizfab in the UK, and when I originally put it in, there was significant clearance issues when servicing the fuel rail, so I had to pull it all off and get these modified with little slots so that I could get my Allen key wrench down in there. It's hard to see this one. Once I did that, it was way easier to work on. I wasn't stripping bolts. I could feed long enough bolts into the fuel rail so that's no longer falling off all the time. It was a big issue. Honestly, this intake, when it's in the car, it's terrible to work on. You have no room anywhere over here. It's awful. Clearance wise, it's not the most ideal thing to be wrenching on. When it's in and sealed up, it works well, and you really don't have to touch it. The R&D stage was pretty tough on this car. We figured that out. Back to the water air, I had an issue where it was leaking water into my engine, and I found out that the tube and fin was too restrictive, and they were actually bending in there, flexing, breaking, always cracking the welds. So I got those cut out, and I got 2 5/8 bars, just 5/8 tube running through it, and it doesn't cool as much, but it's far more efficient, and it puts a lot less strain on the belts, just having better flow. That's how I mitigated that issue, and it has been 100% reliable after that. Throttle cables. This is my V2 throttle cable bracket. I have a clearance issue on the hood. This throttle cable system isn't ideal. It's at a pretty sharp angle, and it does rub down on the throttle blade there. It always rubs there, and eventually it breaks. It's been good for a while. I've just been running it, and at least I get 100% throttle now. Before, I was getting flex in this bracket, and the throttle was actually getting sucked closed to about 70% throttle by the time you hit red line. Kind of felt like the car was falling off. I was looking for something a little better. I got this custom made. It's been working very well. A 500 horsepower air filter down in the wheel well, 4-inch filter, running a 4-inch aluminum intake, and then it reduces down to a stock B16 throttle body. I am running methanol in this car. I have 2 nozzles. I have one here in the intake. This takes all the heat soak out of the intake pipe. So this nozzle is to help mitigate that, which cools down the charge air going into the blower. So the Supercharger intake has a 250 cc nozzle. So I'm spraying 500 cc's a minute through this Supercharger, and wouldn't you know, the car can't run without that. But when that sprays through the Supercharger, puts more load on that little 4-rib belt drive system. Honestly, they're just hanging on for dear life at that point. With all those issues sorted, when I finally got the car drivable in town, the car would be fine, it'd be running cool, You hit the highway, start cruising, the coolant temperature would creep. After about 30 kilometers, 15-20 miles, you'd have to pull over, let it cool down. I was having major heat soak issues. I said, hey, I'll get a custom CSF radiator. It's a 3.5-inch core with an 1100 CFM fan. Essentially did absolutely nothing. Still overheated. It was just major problem. It gets really hot here, like 35 degrees Celsius, even 40 degrees sometimes, so kind of Arizona-like. I installed a dirt bike radiator, and it runs in line with the heater core. A Honda 450 dirt bike radiator that I, really custom fit to the bumper, and it just runs back to the cylinder head. Essentially, I have a radiator that cools pre-thermostat and post-thermostat system. As soon as I installed that radiator, my coolant temps dropped 16 degrees and I no longer had the overheat issue, and that solved it. Luckily, I was able to figure that out. Hood spacers to vent out of the hood, and that just helps get the heat soak out of this engine bay because it is very compact and there's a lot going on in here. And while we're on the topic of radiators, I have Mishimoto water to air intercooler that I welded myself dash 10 fittings onto the side so I could have all dash 10 fittings throughout the entire cooling system. Then we come around to the back and I have an eBay fuel cell, 5-gallon fuel cell that I use as my water tank. I wanted to have a big enough reservoir where that cooling system was going to be superior to that supercharger, and it works well. My ambient intake temperatures are about 100 degrees Fahrenheit plus ambient temperature. So if you're around 0 degrees, I'm going to be about 90 to 100 in the intake, and I'm running a C-Flow 3-gallon per minute water pump. I'm going to upgrade to a 7-gallon per minute and see if that makes anything any better. I've been really interested to see if I can make this supercharger water to air cooling system even better. For the meth pump, while we're back here, it's a AAM HD diesel injection kit with a 5-gallon tank, and I run 50-50 water and methyl hydrate, and then I run a 4-port catch can that I use 3 out of the 4 ports to vent this engine. So I got 1 coming off the crank and 2 off the valve cover. Seems to be enough. I'm running a cast piston on this engine, so I run the ring gaps a little looser. I wanted the engine to be able to breathe properly. A lot of AN fittings on this deal. Those are not cheap. There's a lot of AN fittings going on. This is also LSV Tech, so it's got that too. Originally, when I got this engine running, I was blowing the spark out. I was gapping down to 16 thousandths of an inch. The stock distributor just can't keep up to how much boost I was making at low RPM. I'm making about 11 pounds of boost at 3,000 RPM, and it comes on immediately. The spark system has to be really strong if you're going to turn up these Eaton blowers on these Z-Series engines. I went with the Snake Tuning coil unplug kit, and I'm running OEM Denso K-Series coils, and I run NGK 2667 or BKR7EIX spark plugs that I gap to 20 thousandths of an inch. 20 thou. It's pretty happy there. It's what my tuner recommended, so that's what I do. We're gonna go ahead and put a fresh set of spark plugs into this engine as we get ready for a retune. Let's get these spark plugs out and see how they look after about a year of runtime. The nice thing about these coil pack retrofits, it's nice and easy to get all 4 of your spark plugs out at once. Let's see what we got going on here. Now, they look really good, honestly. Not a lot of buildup on there with the methanol injection and everything. Pretty happy to see that. This engine's tuned very well. I have a very good tuner based out of Egypt that tunes this car. The guy's just an absolute legend. With how much I work on this setup, a good torque wrench has been the best investment. I make sure everything gets torqued properly and I'm not pulling any threads out as I service this engine very frequently. I stopped blowing head gaskets after I bought a good torque wrench, so just goes to say how important it is. Let's talk about drivetrain. This engine makes a decent amount of torque. I definitely had a problem with the stock axles. We got 500 horsepower insane shafts installed with an early model GSR half shaft because I got these axles used. It was a good deal, so I run the early model GSR half shaft on this. I have not had an issue with any axles breaking after doing that upgrade. I ran multiple stage 3 clutch kits and I was just snapping the breakaway tabs on the pressure plates. They didn't hold up to the torque and the instant power when you're power shifting. I was constantly blowing clutches, so I went with the Yonaka twin disc clutch. After that, haven't had a single issue. So it was probably one of the best upgrades I did because it's a pain in the butt when you blow your clutch and you got to pull the transmission off, because this car has one bolt on the half shaft that's covered up by the alternator on the supercharger drive, and you don't even want to know how tight it is back there. It is terrible to work on. I usually leave the half shaft on the engine when I pull the transmission off. So after I figured out driveline and clutches, I figured out the limit on my synchros. I'm revving this engine to 8,600 RPM and I was ripping on it pretty hard. This is a GSR transmission. Right away when I got this transmission, I upgraded to the M Factory diff and had some really improperly shimmed differential setup going on, and I ended up wrecking some stuff inside this transmission. So long story short, it now has an M Factory 1st through 4th gear set and an LS 5th with a full carbon synchro master rebuild, all new bearings, everything, all new seals. And I went with the roller bearing conversion kit that they have available for these GSR transmissions, and it was great. I just dropped in the LSD with the shims, everything was perfect, rebuilt those gear stacks, and it's been great. This transmission is solid. I have a lot of confidence in the driveline in this car, but it was one hell of a headache. We made it through. The twin disc clutch, it's got about 5,000 kilometers on it now, and it's not even worn. It's like just broken in, so it has been extremely reliable on the driveline part. As far as exhaust, I got a PLM Megaphone big tube header that's AC compatible. I have a all new air conditioning system that I haven't charged yet because I haven't gotten there yet. PLM big tube headers, we got that running to a 3-inch V-bend, and then it's a 3-inch all the way back, and I got like a 16-inch resonator and a full-size muffler. The biggest muffler I could fit between the rear bumper and the frame rail. That's what we got. I wanted it to flow good. It's all straight through mufflers. Works very well. This exhaust flows exceptionally great. I've not had an issue with these headers cracking. I do want to add some more support on the back because I did have a flange break on it, but it's the name of the game. This thing gets a lot of wheel hop. Everything gets a little shaky, and you're gonna have some things crack. It's inevitable. I did install Precision Works track bars, the Heim joint to the lower control arm, And that's also now my radiator mount and all that. That eliminated my wheel hop and allowed me to utilize all the torque that this supercharger makes without absolutely destroying everything. It was terrible. I'd hit the throttle and the dash would be almost shaken out of the car. And I put those track bars in, it eliminated it, and it's way more planted, so I was pretty happy with that upgrade. Now the engine. I got a really basic setup going on as far as the engine goes. It's got a 4-piston ported oil pump. It's got Eagle rods with Nippon Racing high compression turbo cast pistons. And I'm running 22 thou on the ring gap on the first and 24 on the second. Nothing special going on there. Rods, pistons, king bearings, and I built it myself in my shed. And we got a GSR head on a B18B block. I'm running Brian Crowder valve springs, Type R ITR camshafts on this engine. Carrera stainless valves as well, because I wanted everything to not break. As I went deeper into this engine build financially and the forced induction, I didn't want to skip out on valves. It's got the upgraded Gates timing belt, the GSR belt, GSR timing kit, OEM B16 distributor that's converted to coil unplug with the snake tuning kit. This engine is reliable. I had other engines in this car that were terrible. I've probably had about 7 short blocks in and out of this engine with luckily the same cylinder head. All I gotta say is do it once, do it right, and it'll be all good. For engine oil, these superchargers add a lot of oil temperature to these engines with the high intake temperatures that they see. So I run 15W40 diesel oil, and after I started running 1540, my engine stopped blowing up. That's all I gotta say there. I'm running recapped LS truck injectors. At a base fuel pressure, they run about 750 cc's a minute, and I bumped up my fuel pressure a bit, so they'll be closer to 800 cc's. It's more than enough fuel for the 17 pounds of boost I run and the 500 cc's of methanol. Overall, it's been very reliable and cheap. Those injectors were like 200 bucks, and I'm really not complaining. Omni Power 4-bar map sensor, just to keep things reliable in that department, and AEM fuel pressure regulator. As you saw in the previous video, I blew the diaphragm, so I got the upgraded diaphragm. It didn't want to run. I had to up my fuel pressure to get the same kind of injector duty cycle back. That's just how it is, I guess. Not really sure, but that's what I did. In the fuel tank, I just have a Hellcat 470 fuel pump. It's been exceptionally reliable. Hoping to get this thing retuned soon. Then we'll be able to see where this thing's at now with the new throttle and all that fun stuff. Now you're probably saying, Jesse, what's going on with the blower? Let's talk about that. I got the entire supercharger kit used, and I got the intake modified. I did the full drive system upgrade, and I also have fully rebuilt that supercharger. I sent it down to the High Speed Lab supercharger specialists in Missouri, and they put an upgraded nose drive, CNC port, upgraded the coating on the rotors, and put waterproof needle bearings in it so I could run methanol. I've got that blower back and I've had 0 issues. It has been exceptional. I'm running 17 pounds of boost on a single overdrive. I used to run double overdrive, but honestly, the blower was maxed out on efficiency. The blower tells you when you're done. It was telling me I was done. Didn't matter how tight I made the belts, they would slip. So I went back to B18 crank pulley. I used to have a B20 crank pulley down there. It was too much. Built blower, built nose drive, CNC ported, and I port matched the S-tube myself. I just spent a significant amount of time sanding it to the thinnest possible thickness. So I'm honestly surprised it hasn't broken off. That's how thin it is. I wanted every single square inch I could get inside of that S-tube, and honestly it seems like it's not far behind the LHT Performance CNC port upgrade that's available for this. I do want to get their 70mm throttle body upgrade, because that would really help this thing a lot. That's the only choke point I have left, is my 60mm B-series throttle body. Enough talking, let's tighten these belts. I'm just gonna get this strut tower brace out of the way. Right, so on the alternator side of things, it's just got a 17mm bolt on that tensioner pulley down there and a 10mm stud that just tightens. Now, I have this, it's cranked up, like pretty tight. It's a 1/4 inch ratchet, so I think for a belt that's a lot of wrench. And I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten the supercharger side of it now. So yeah, then it's just a 5mm Allen on the supercharger, and you just give her a tighten. Feels like it has stretched significantly. Kind of go for wrist tight on this deal. I always get asked a lot, how do you afford to do this to your car? When I started building the car, I didn't make a lot of money. I was making like $17 to $20 an hour, but I spent every single extra dollar I had on that car. I built the car piece by piece. First it was the supercharger that I saved for, then it was the manifold, and I just kept compiling all these parts and eventually put it into the car. And it's just been a lot of years of spending a lot of money and budgeting and using all the money I saved by budgeting on my car. So not a good financial investment, but man, I sure learned a lot. And the car is a lot of fun. I have no regrets doing it that way. There's no going back now. I'm pretty happy with what I've learned and all the things I've accomplished over the years. I'm pretty proud of it. All right, we're heading to grab insurance. Bridgeport RX-7. We're out for a drive. Got the RX-7 behind me. Honestly, the belt is still making a chirping sound. I don't know why. I had it idling in the driveway and the sound cleared up. I don't know if it's a temperature thing or what. I'm just gonna run it today. We're gonna go take this thing to a parkade meet and see if the belts blow up or not. Stay tuned. We're just at the gas station, filling up with some 94 octane. It's only what I run in this car, just to keep things safe. Made a little pull, the belts aren't slipping. We made it out to the car meet. Little parkade meet. It's not a whole lot of people here. Got some cool cars. Bars. And the Delcat belts were not slipping. So I was able to put some power down. I got a tune tomorrow morning with the man himself from Egypt. We'll get some videos of that. Pretty excited to get this thing readjusted. Made it back. The belt, it's surprisingly still looks brand new. Alright, don't ask me how, but it is. Belt down here, also really good. Super happy Guess you just gotta keep tightening them. Tomorrow morning we have a tune and we'll see how it does. Honestly, I'm really happy with how it did today. It worked. A little bit of a struggle getting things adjusted properly, but we always win. Never give up. Beautiful sunny day today. It's hot, so we're really going to be putting this setup to the test today. Right now it's 25 degrees and temperatures rising pretty quickly, so hopefully the old Delcat can hold it together. I just gave that Supercharger belt another little tighten. I'm just shocked at how much better this new belt is working. Honestly, I think there's something to say about those European belts. Not sure how good of a video I'm going to be able to get on the tune. I'll try to get a decent video for you guys. He's just making some adjustments and then we're going to go for a drive. It's already running better. This guy in Egypt, Mohammed, is just a blessing. He's made this whole setup has been a lot easier because of this guy, for sure. Can't give him enough props. Rev limit's at 6,000 now. $7,000 on the rev limit now. Going smooth. We're going to 8,000 RPM now. Can the Delcat do it? I think so. Doing a test pull through all the gears. Mohammed wanted to take 1 degree timing out just to keep things safe. So you can look at these data logs. At 8,100 RPM, we're making 16.1 pounds of boost, which is pretty good. And we can see nice linear flat line. Belts were not slipping, which is extremely impressive. Throttle still seems to be getting sucked closed. It's a really hard thing to get around on these Jackson's racing kits. The way the air intake goes down into the blower, it sucks the throttle plate down. I physically can't make that bracket any stronger. It's kind of unfortunate. But look at those intake temperatures. That's 8,100 RPM, 16 pounds of boost, 170 in the intake. Not ideal. Okay, so that was third gear. Top of fourth gear, 8,300 RPM. The 130 miles an hour. We're 190 degrees in the intake. That is hot. That is really hot. It cools down pretty quickly. It'll drop to 120 right after. It's the struggle. These Eaton M62 blowers are hot. They run very hot. So after the pull, it climbs to almost 200 degrees. Starts coming down pretty quickly, so in 10 seconds it starts dropping to 169. A few more seconds later we're down to 150. The water meth injection pulls the heat soak out of the blower pretty quickly. as well as the post cooling on the intercooler, but on throttle, it's just not enough. I really got to work on some development there, but other than that, you know, it's working. Belts aren't slipping, and that makes me happy. So we're making some serious progress here. One pull through third, and we're 160 degrees in the intake. We got some work to do. I'm gonna go ahead and get the car cleaned up. I'm also gonna rotate the tires just because. Got the engine bay cleaned up. Got that pipe shined up. Look at that. Nice and shiny. Pretty stoked. I love this car.